Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, what we've had so much to talk about since we last spoke about the Oscar race.
I mean, we talk every day about the Oscar race.
I know, but for the people, now. Joyce, for our fan,
our one fan,
we talk so much to talk about. Since we last spoke, the Toronto Film Festival finally ended. It took them 3 months, but they got through it. Congratulations to the attendees and organizers of the Toronto Film Festival. And the Audience Awards were giving out a major seeming bellwether for awards success, and no surprise, Fabelmans won. And then I'm not that did not shock me at all. How about you?
No, I mean, we discussed this possibility last month when it was confirmed to be going there.
Yeah.
And they were really pushing for that, and like Cameron Daley, like he kept hyping up like how this was Steven Spielberg's first TIFF and everything.
Yes.
You know, like and like, always like encouraging people to vote. And second place went to Women Talking.
Yeah, so that
also
was
not surprising because, as we also discussed last month, Sarah Polley, Toronto native.
So Toronto native, and I would have said, if out of Telluride, that did not necessarily surprise me, because like I said, I think from on the ground in Telluride, Women Talking was definitely a movie that everyone seemed to like.
Yeah, and I have since seen it, and it's very good.
And then there was, though, in between Telluride and then Toronto, there was like a groundswell seeming from certain people that it was not going to be an audience-friendly movie, and that people would maybe reject it because it's about women talking, and also slightly there's not a lot of action. It's not like The Woman King, which we also saw and we could talk about.
Yeah, but also like that, I think we talked about this last week, like the lower praise for it at TIFF is not surprising because it's just a broader swath of attendees.
True.
There.
But I would say based on the lower praise, that was a very vocal, maybe minority, since it obviously finished second in the audience
and
award.
Also it's a very good movie, and I'm not saying she like placed because she is from Toronto, but like, you know, the past couple of years, like Canadian films have placed as well, and she is an icon in Canada.
I would say the other thing too is, having seen now a decent amount of these movies, we've not seen all of them. We still haven't seen The Fabelmans, obviously. I'd say Women Talking ends up being a satisfying conclusion. It's not a feel-good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the decisions that are made and how it ends, it leaves you feeling heartened, maybe is the right word, or just like, you know, like strong. I don't know. It just doesn't, it's not like a downbeat movie, I don't think, even though it's discussing like
you love the final shot. And
the final shot's like, great, but I just think in general, I just think in general, the decisions and the conversations end up having like outcomes that are like not enjoyable. I don't, you know what I mean?
I'll share my thoughts on the film later so we could get through the rankings. So number 3 was Glass Onion, which also not surprising.
No.
Because I believe they did about like 89 screenings of it.
Yeah.
And you know, the first one was obviously a hit. So
people love Knives Out, Joyce.
I love Knives Out.
Great movie. And I'm sure Glass Onion will be a great movie too. So if you're doing this and like looking for any kind of major upset, no. Fabelman's still seemingly the favorite. Glass Onion maybe had been expected to be after Venice and Telluride, the top Netflix choice perhaps of this year's roster of films as a Best Picture contender. Still there, I think, hanging around. And Women Talking,
it's the one that's been the most received.
Yeah. And then Women Talking being like a good alternate at the moment to like the studio flair and Spielbergian awe of Fabelmans, right? Spielberg had a statement, Joyce. I'm going to read it. Just love this. He's really in on this. As I said on stage the other night, above all, I'm glad I brought this film to Toronto! ! Period.
Needs an editor.
Michael Kahn, maybe? Is he up there? Can we get him to copy edit this? This is the most personal film I've ever made, and the warm reception for everyone in Toronto made my first visit to TIFF so intimate and personal for me and my entire Fabelman family.
Yeah. So, congratulations to them.
Yeah, great. Can't wait.
Yeah, so it was the front runner before this.
Yes.
And it remains the front runner. So you know, not every TIFF winner goes on to win Best Picture.
No.
But the past two winners in the even years have won
Wow.
Best Picture, because 2018 Green Book,
Right.
2020 Nomadland,
Right.
and now we're in 2022. So
I was expecting perhaps a little bit of an upset, maybe from the greatest beer run in the world played there.
I don't think that went over as well as Green Book did.
You know what's funny though? I think, tell me if you got this impression. I expected it to actually get raked over the coals because people did, in hindsight, didn't like Green Book, even though everyone who saw Green Book in Toronto loved it, and it had like great strong reviews. And then obviously it just didn't make it through the season without becoming the major film Twitter villain of the year at that time. So I was expecting like everyone to take out their anger on Green Book on Greatest Beer Run, but actually people seem to like think it was fine. So I'm like, it's probably good.
No,
Haven't seen that
I
either.
don't think I don't think the movie is horrible, and I don't think they're gonna, bring the knives out if it's not horrible. Like,
Right.
It's just like, it is what it is, and we already lived through Green Book winning, so then it's just like, here.
You have a better, you're taking a better faith position than I am. I think most people are in bad faith, so they'll just like be extra mean to something if they
I mean,
feel
I don't
embarrassed
know
that they
why
like
people, are like so obsessed with like checking like what the Metacritic and Rotten Tomato scores are,
Sure.
like constantly refreshing. Like, who cares? It's like one person's opinion at one outlet. Like,
Right.
if a different person reviewed it at that outlet, it could have a different score.
Right.
And especially for like TV reviews too, because a lot of times we just get screeners for like the first 3 episodes, not the whole season. And your opinion
it's
change
true.
for the whole season, but then the score doesn't change because they just log it in there for your initial review, which was like the first 3 episodes.
Right. That happened, I think, this year, even though I really liked the 3rd season of Atlanta. I feel like a lot of critics were like thinking about that with Atlanta.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in one of our Emmys episodes, and how one of our mutual friends who reviewed it based off of like the first 3 episodes said he would have had a different opinion had he seen the full season before reviewing it.
Right. Yeah, I still love it. We're not talking about Atlanta, but it's a great show, and it's coming back this month, Joyce.
Final season, 4th
final season. Can't wait. I'm very psyched. So that was Toronto. So you saw Women Talking. So why don't we want to just do that here? We could do that here since
sure. So many women saw so many women this week.
Women Talking, Women King. What a time.
Yeah. So Women Talking, I really enjoyed it. Liked it a lot, and I have not read the book. So, and I felt like the star of the movie was really the conversation and the script.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel good about Sarah winning adapted screenplay, especially because that category is also kind of weak.
Yeah.
Too. I didn't have a favorite performance in there. I thought like the ensemble as a whole was really good, and it would make a great ensemble nominee and winner at like various awards and stuff, including SAG. And I know you prefer Claire Foy, but if I had to choose between like her and Jessie Buckley, I would choose Jessie.
Okay.
But Claire has the more like broad like mainstream appeal because she's just like angry from the get-go.
Right. You compared her when we were chatting about it to Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight.
Yeah, this is a very
great
Spotlight is like just the opposite gender. So like Claire Foy is the Ruffalo because she has like the screaming scene.
Yes.
And then Ben Whishaw is the Rachel McAdams because he's the lone dude and she was like the lone female there. So Ben, I'm kind of like torn on because I thought like it's like a good performance, and like we've discussed, like he's not all men.
Yes, and I think a lot of men will like appreciate that. I didn't put him back, so I made some changes since we talked last week.
But yeah, I don't have him in supporting. I did swap Jessie for Claire. I thought about having both of them, but then I kept my Nina Haas.
Sure. I don't think Nina Haas is going to happen, but it would be great. I have
in there to be different because I feel like
fine.
a lot of people have double women talking. So I'm like,
I have Claire also and not Jessie. I think Claire is really great, and like you said, has like the showier part. So certainly can make
and
it.
Jessie's arc is more of a slow burn, and she does get like meaty stuff at the end.
Yes.
So like Ben, so like he has sort of this like romantic subplot with Rooney Mara too, who I thought was really good as well, but she's a lot more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if they're gonna run a lead, it would be her.
certainly she would seem like the
which will
lead.
also be amazing because it would be a Carol reunion if she
Right.
is in lead as well, and she was frauded in supporting last time for Carol.
I think, like you said too, the issue is not that I think she's very good too, but she doesn't have as much like loud stuff to do as the others.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, so like Ben, I see why some people are like really into his performance and others not so much.
Right. I was wondering too, I'm like, I obviously, like you said, he's the Rich McAdams. He's like the lone man in the movie, literally. I don't think the other men even have speaking parts. Maybe there's the census taker.
You mean like the rapists? Yeah.
And the rapists don't have any speaking parts either, I don't think. And the census taker does say like it's 2010. That's how it like places the time. So he's like the main guy. And I think there's reason for, like, I think like you said, people respond to it, but I just don't, I'm like, is there going to be enough passion for him to get in? And I'm just not sure. I mean, if he is very well liked, and I think people do like him, and the performance is good, but I'm just like, will other performances have more passion? Let's say.
Yeah, I mean, it is good that the category is wide open, so he can get in if the movie really takes off. And then, yeah, like you were saying, some of the complaints, I guess, or reviews of it were about its staginess, and I did not find it stagey at all.
Yeah, I don't think it's stagey is the right word at all. I mean, it's not very stagey.
It's not, like, there are a lot of recent films that are actually based on plays that were a lot more stagey as a film adaptation, and this is not. First of all, this is a novel. It's based on a novel. So but yeah, like obviously a bulk of the film is the conversation in the hayloft, but it, like, the camera is not static, which is what I think people think of when they hear that it's just like a bunch of people in a room. Like, this is not like Mass, where like literally the entire movie is the four of them in a room, and it feels kind of suffocating in there. And I loved Mass too.
I love Mass, and Mass is a great example of this. And so I guess it's like an exception for me when I see something that I know is a play and it's all in a room. It's very tough to stay focused. I like kind of just being on a drift, and I didn't do that with Women Talking because I was like, it didn't feel like
Women
that.
Talking, like she really opens up the space, like in the hayloft, and there's like large doors, and the camera is alive, like it moves around, so you never feel like you're just stuck in a barn with them. And yeah, you were saying last week that like you felt like her best work was with actors, and I agree. Like, there are a lot of really great performances in there, even though I do feel like sometimes it was just like these characters were just presenting a specific viewpoint, because we want to get all of them out in the open, right?
They're all archetypes basically, and they're all like, it does feel like, to me, it felt like it could be like a lot of it's like Twitter conversations in a movie almost, right?
And then you're not like really responding to each other, or you're like trying to ignore one to like get your point across. But they're really good arguments too. Like, it's very engrossing conversation. And I don't think it's hard to get into the film that way. And then there's also a lot of scenes not in the hayloft. Like, they take breaks, they go outside.
It's great. No, it's really, I think a lot of it is good.
Yeah. They go inside their homes, and there's a lot of flashbacks and these like memory pops and like fantasy sequences. So I don't understand that criticism at all. So I think like, if it's not stagey is what I'm saying. But I do understand the criticism about the cinematography and the desaturation, which was a huge sticking point for a lot of people. And I get it, because it's very harsh, and it feels bitter. And like on one hand, I understand, because that is like their circumstance, right? These women are illiterate, they've been raped, abused, and gaslit, so like their lives suck, and the look of the aesthetic of the film resembles that. But I do think it's so severe that I can see, like, when I was watching it, I was like, if like voters are watching this at home on a screener, I could see a lot of them turning it off, because it's just like too harsh for them, the look of it,
Interesting.
And it does, like, so the aesthetic like changes like during the hours of the day. So there's like one brief moment where it's like bright and sunny and it looks gorgeous, but then it very quickly becomes harsh again. So I think that kind of might hurt it too, because if you're like, oh look, it looks like nice now, quote unquote, and then it gets like really dark and bleak again. So I don't know, like, it's I don't it also felt like it was trying to be black and white, and like it never got there.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I watched, it didn't even dawn. None of this dawned on me. I just watched it straight, and I didn't like,
Yeah,
because I
it didn't
saw
really
it
like I think
before.
you either have to ignore it or just
Right.
get used to it.
I guess I just got used to it right away, because I was just like watching it. I was like, I didn't even notice that it was. I was like, oh, I guess it's like dusk. That's what it just felt like. It felt like the whole movie takes place at dusk. So I was just like, okay, that's fine. So when we talked last week, we went through our predictions, and I didn't have Sarah in. I don't think you did either for director.
I took her out, and I thought about putting her back in today, and I haven't yet. Like, I still don't know.
So I did. Joyce, I did something that I know you're going to frown upon. I was reading the comments and also engaging with some of the comments on YouTube.
You love comments. I don't do comments.
And there was one person who was like, I make no sense, me, this guy, sure. And that Lenny Abrahamson got in for Room for directing.
Yeah.
And it was less cinematic than Women Talking. I would disagree with that. I actually think Room is pretty cinematic, and it does
and more than half the movie takes place outside of Room.
Correct. But when I was making my case for against Sarah Polley, I was like, I actually do want her to get nominated, because I think it's really good.
I want her to get nominated too.
So,
I would personally nominate her if I were a voter.
And I kind of think, I guess I was maybe getting too negative, or like believing the rash of like negative tweets about it from men online. And then when it won second place in audience award, I was like, you know what? I think she can still get it. I put her back in, because that's the long story. I was like, I want her to get in. I'm going to put her in for now.
And shamed into predicting her now.
No, I'm not shamed into predicting her. I'm actually like, I'd rather pick at this stage too. Like you kind of talked about this, like I'd rather, like with Nina Haas a little, I'd rather pick people I'm just like, this would be cool to happen. So I'd like it to happen. And if it changes, I'll change it a million times or whatever. But like for now, why not have her in? I definitely think the movie's very strong. Of all the festival movies that we've seen outside of Tar, I think it's the one that made it through without a lot of demerits.
Yeah.
And Fabelmans, I mean, obviously accepted, but like a lot of these other ones kind of got dinged. So I had Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu in there, but I took him out because I'm like, I think I'm going to stick with Women Talking. It'll be a New York Film Festival.
I didn't move her in yet, because also I think she's in like third place right now in the odds or something. Yes. So I'm like, I'm not like worried, I guess, about her odds right now, because I'm like, she is like already in the top 5.
Sure.
And it's not like she's in like 6 or something, and I want to increase her odds to get her in the top 5, you know? So I do want her to get in. I'm just thinking about, like, I don't know if she'll hit like DGA either, but like, you know, they don't have to match completely. I think there's a lot of variables at DGA and also at Oscar. Like I also thought about putting Robert Osmond in for Tron Gonzalez, so I just didn't change anything. So I kept it. I still have like Martin McDonagh, which I'm not sure about. But like I might have her in by next week. So who knows?
Right. I still have Kaczynski for Top Gun, because I just feel like,
of course you do.
I'm going down with that. I think that could really happen. So that was Women Talking. Women King Joyce. Let's go there.
First of all, just want to say right off the top that there is a mid-credit scene in Woman King, which you did not know about.
Not a clue. Walked out, didn't see it. So I have to go back to see this mid-credit scene, or hope it gets uploaded on YouTube.
I don't think a lot of people, like, I knew about it because I saw a tweet that mentioned it from someone who like saw it at TIFF. So, but I usually stay through credits anyway, or like the first half of the credits.
I stayed through to like the title, like they did the actors. I must have just missed it, because I like stayed through that part and just walked out.
Yeah, it happened like right before the scrolling credits.
Okay, so I missed that.
But like, so like when I saw it, there were like 20 people in my theater, and like as soon as it ended, like almost everyone got up to leave except for me and this guy in my row. And then there were like 3 people a couple rows in front of us, and one of them was an old lady, and they were taking a long time to walk out. So the 5 of us were the only ones who saw the mid-credit scene.
Amazing.
So if you have not seen The Woman King yet, know that there's a mid-credit scene.
Here was my take on it, Joyce. A good old-fashioned Studio B+. Very enjoyable.
It's like very like 90s conventional action drama. It's the plot, like very predictable, so many predictable beats, but it's like you could see them coming from like 100 miles away. But and I don't like there's one that I'm just like, okay, we don't really need this in here, but I get why you're doing this, like the romance-ish thing.
Yeah, people didn't love that, but I found it it's like so negligible It's like barely.
Yeah, they don't really spend a lot of time on it, and
they don't.
But it's like it's still like, oh, of course it's in here. But it's put together really well, and the acting is great, and it's a good time. It's like a good old fashioned time.
Yes. So Gina Prince Bythewood had compared it a little bit to people were comparing it to Gladiator. Having just rewatched Gladiator because we talked about it when we did our 2000s Oscars playback or 2001 Oscars playback. Gladiator's better. Great movie. Very much holds up. She also compared it to Braveheart, which we also talked about. Braveheart's not very good, and this is much better than Braveheart. And Braveheart won Best Picture. So I have after seeing it, I was like, I still have it in my predictions, and I'm going to stick with it because I do think it did really well at the box office. The audience response was incredibly high. It had Top Gun level audience grades. I think people will respond to it all year, and why not Woman King at this point? At least I don't know. I could see it getting in as a Best Picture nominee.
Well, they both won Best Picture, but
no, I know that.
I mean, the thing that they all have in common is they're all historical epics,
right? But also don't really historical epics that take liberties.
Well, yeah, and then there was that hashtag boycott Woman King over the weekend, which was
I didn't pay attention to that.
So dumb.
I didn't even. I might have muted that whole thing.
It's just no one was even aware of the Dahomey Kingdom's role in the slave trade, and now just the internet, Twitter, taking sides against things they didn't even know about until 2 minutes ago.
That's the culture right now, Joyce. So basically, I really liked it. I really, really love Viola, so I'm very confident with her getting in too, and for Best Actress.
Yeah, Viola is really good. She has a lot of good stuff at the end too.
A lot of good scenes.
Yeah. And I also put her in. So I once again just rotated 2 people out of Best Actress again.
So what do you got now?
So I put back in Naomi Ackie, and I put in Viola.
A 2 for Sony. Sony's gonna love it. Tom Roth.
I know. And I dropped Olivia Colman and Danielle Detweiler. So I can. There's just no room for everyone.
There's no room for everyone. We talked about this last week, I think. It does feel like of all those locks that Olivia is the most vulnerable, because I think the response was mixed. And is there enough passion to get her in? It's going to be everybody's fourth or
this is going to be the real test of her power.
Yes, exactly. Because I just don't know if the passion's going to be there for a great performance. She's awesome in the movie. But I'm just I think more people will be there will be more passion behind Viola doing not just really great dramatic scenes, which I was so impressed by, and I think even a little different than her normal pitch too. A lot of the scenes.
Yeah, well, because one of the ways that people like to dunk on her is her snotty acting, not snotty as in she's a snot, but no snot.
Right. Thinking of Doubt. The scene
from Doubt and Fences and everything, and there's none of that in here.
No, and she absolutely kicks ass. The physical stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
And she really sells it. And I was reading an interview with Gina Prince Bythewood, who was in the script, she was they pitched her younger. And Viola was
all her entire presser is just I'm 57 years old.
Right. She was let's just make her 57 years old. It'd be great. And it's awesome. It's so good. I just loved her in it. I thought she's so great. Love seeing action star Viola Davis. And I think she really sells a lot of it. And I have her getting in. And then I'm sure this will change. Last time we chatted, I had Lashana Lynch in because everybody was Lashana Lynch. And I took her out for Thuso Mbedu because she's so much incredible in it, I thought. I loved
I prefer Thuso and Sheila Ateem to Lashana. So just my Underground Railroad gals.
Same. Thuso, like you had said, is absolutely the lead or a co-lead. It would be
she is a co-lead of the film.
It would be primo category fraud, I would say.
I mean, it's fine, do whatever you want. So,
but man, she is incredible, and I hope somebody watches this or people are watching. She was awesome on Underground Railroad that we have talked about as Emmys did not perform as well as it probably should have or could have. It's a great show, and she was cast in this. I think she said she turned down a franchise picture to star in this. I would love to know what that was.
This is her first film. Yeah.
First film, and I think she's going to be a major factor in films going forward. She's just amazing in it. And I was watching her and I was oh my God, because again, her character, like you said, I'm not going to spoil this movie, but very predictable. But there's a lot of scenes with her and Viola together. And I was
Yeah,
like,
they have 2 really good scenes in a pool.
yes. And one of the second one, I think she doesn't even say a word through so. And it's like amazing. It just was like blown away. I'm like, she's holding
Yeah,
her own
you
against Viola
can act
Davis.
without dialogue. Did you know that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But I was like, I think a lot of performers maybe would have tried to do more in those scenes with Viola
Yeah,
because
for
they'd be
sure.
intimidated by Viola and like having like such a great performer across from them. But she underplays it almost, and it's just so good. I was like very impressed with her. So I put her in for supporting actress. I can't imagine that really happens, but it's September 21st when we're recording this. It's fine.
Yeah, so I didn't put the movie in Best Picture yet, although I did do something. What did I do? I don't remember what I did. I just did this like an hour ago. But yeah, I can see it getting in there in one of the open right now, last 2 spots.
Right.
So
I have, like I said, I have it in, and I was like, I still have Glass Onion in too. And
I still have Glass Onion. What did I add? Let me see.
I think that if Avatar and Black Panther are amazing, they could easily like overwhelm those spots at the end.
Oh,
And get
funny
like
story. My
parts
friend,
there,
the same
spots there.
one who I mentioned last week, did not know that Elvis was directed by Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
Literally texted me the other day while we were watching another movie, Amsterdam,
Yes.
that we could talk about later.
Sure.
She said that she just found out that The Woman King is not a Marvel movie. She thought it was a Marvel movie like Black Panther style.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Your friend, they should join the Academy, I feel like.
Yeah, but I'm also like, I know she's not the only one.
I mean, they kind of are selling it like it could be, like it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So she just found that out. So that's a like 2 things for her now: Elvis and Woman King.
And I got to say, this Woman King, again, another demerit for those on the internet who were like, this is so. And we talked about this too. A lot of critics were overly effusive of praise for Woman King, and at the same time, so I went in like a little eyebrow raise too, because I was like, is it really going to be that good? And then I was like, really, like I had a great time. So I was like, I think this is one time where while people have pushed back on the Woman King, not just for the boycott Woman King hashtag apparently, but also like the idea that it's like overpraised by like millennial white critics or whatever, I actually think it's like legitimately good. And I think people and the audience responded in kind, like it had like an A+ cinema score. So I think it is another loss, let's say, for that contingent. Like women talking.
I mean,
runner up.
Like I understand being, incredulous of like
Yes.
the maybe hyperbolic takes like right out of like a TIFF premiere screening,
Yes.
like I get that.
Yeah.
But the people have spoken too.
It's good
At this
it's
point. Yeah. And yeah, it's fun. I don't know. I would not say it's the best picture of the year, and I've seen like 5 movies, but like it's definitely a movie that I had a lot of fun watching this year. So
I mean, like a Studio B+ is basically like a missing artifact because they don't make studio movies
like as
anymore.
we talked about when we did our Oscar playbacks for the 90s, like you don't get these mid-budget movies anymore since the recession. Like
exactly.
Like that's just this whole like genre basically of films that has gone AWOL.
Yeah, this would have been a great 90s movie, I thought. Really good. So those are so we went through the women.
So the other movie I added that I just found out right now, Triangle of Sadness. So
you went back to Triangle of Sadness. So what did you take out then?
I just dropped Bardo because I had that.
Oh, sure, okay.
Get rid of this. Yeah. But
Triangle of Sadness still haven't seen, but I know people have been seeing it, and obviously one can. So
yeah, so that's why, because when I put that in, so I was like, should I put him in to director or put Sarah in? And I just didn't do anything. So.
Right. Amsterdam, Joyce, we can talk about briefly here. Its review embargo is set for much closer release. It comes out October 7th. This is David O. Russell's new movie with a cast of dozens of major stars.
A lot of people, a lot of names.
So we didn't put it in. Neither one of us have switched it in.
No.
I would say this. A lot of great below the line talent involved. Emmanuel Lubezki, cinematographer, our boy Daniel Pemberton did the score. There's an original song that clearly was like co-written by Daniel Pemberton with Drake, I'd imagine, right? Like at the end, kind of like the.
Well, he's also an EP, Drake.
Sure, he introduced it at the premiere. I think it could be in play in those categories. I would say above the line will be a tougher trek.
Yeah, and then the way the rollout is let's say telling, because it was obviously ready and it didn't do any festivals, and it was originally scheduled to be released in November, and then they just moved it up to October.
So they moved it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. David O. Russell and Christian Bale did an interview with Deadline, our sister site, and actually that was brought up. And I'll read you what David said if I could scroll through here and find it. Let me see. This is again scintillating stuff. With the quality and the cast, this is Deadline talking. This movie would have crushed it at a festival like Venice or Toronto. Why no festival? And why move the release from November 4th to October 7th? And David O. Russell says, one thing was we only just finished. There was no time. That was part of it. But The Fighter and American Hustle, they didn't go to festivals. You want to make a theatrical event in IMAX. We wanted to do events in London for it, and it's a feel cinematic event. Sometimes that means you go to festivals, and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, we just felt like we were still finishing it when those decisions got made and the music was still coming in. We thought, let's just make it a great big theatrical release. So here you go.
Sure, but the difference I would say is like American Hustle, he filmed that like early, like the first half of 2013, and it was out by the end.
Yeah.
They filmed this last year.
Right. I would say, so I'm actually a big David O. Russell fan. I know that's like
I
not.
am not.
So I'm a big fan of his movies. I think that Three Kings is awesome. And then obviously the filmmaker he was in Three Kings and Spanking the Monkey is a lot different from the filmmaker who made The Fighter and Silver Linings, which I think are two like legit masterpieces. American Hustle, like, you think is solid. It was definitely like one of those that came out last and everybody was like, this rules. Let's give it New York Film Critics Circle Award.
Stand American Hustle.
And it got 10 nominations and it won SAG Ensemble.
0.
Right. So those are solid movies. I would say this is another, it felt like to me watching, it was like, I think a lot of people maybe will be like, it's like American Hustle. I didn't feel like it was like American Hustle personally. I felt like it's not as antic as American Hustle. It tries to be a little zany, but like measured in its zaniness.
It is like, I do like Three Kings, but I'm not really into The Fighter or Silver Linings at all. Like I think they're like completely fine, but American Hustle I just did not like. Because it just felt very superficial and contrived and needlessly convoluted. And I would say this Amsterdam is also overly convoluted in its plotting. It's like another, not a con job like American Hustle, but it's like a mystery type thing. And then there's a lot of threads that he tries to pull together. And then in American Hustle, it felt like it was just, I do think he works well with actors, or well, you know, not with Billy Talman, obviously, or George Clooney, but like he gets his actors to give their all, let's say.
Yeah.
Or when he's not yelling at Amy Adams. And
right. Know. And who knows, he might have, you know, this is a movie, the ultimate theme of this movie is about like being kind to other people, I think. So
yeah, so I do feel like his movies have like meaty parts for actors, and they do go all out. Like American Hustle is just like balls to wall like acting, you know. But I do feel like the scripts are just kind of weak, and like a lot of scenes in that movie are just like really long and saggy and don't really do any or much character development. Like some scenes could be like 30 minutes, but it's just like a lot of like telling and then showing that, like, you know, Jennifer Lawrence's character is like crazy and like, you know, she'll yell at you and like, you know, destroy your house with like her microwave and stuff exploding. And this, I do agree that there's just something that felt kind of flat about it.
Yeah, it's not as antic. And I would say the performances are pretty solid. I mean, Christian Bale, I think Christian is great.
Is just, you know, committed as always.
Christian Bale, Joyce, I was thinking of this, future SAG nominee here in a weak Best Actor field, like we've talked about. He could get in. I could easily see it.
I mean, we could talk about the Globes return later too.
Maybe definitely a Globe. This would be great with the Globes. The Globes are back, Joyce, on a Tuesday night.
Love to see it.
Can't wait.
You can't go up against two football games or multiple football games, really. So
no. One thing we've seen this award season is that football is bigger and more people care about it. I don't know if you know that. It's America's pastime. Oh, no, that's baseball.
I would choose sports first.
So, yeah. So the Tuesday Globes. I definitely think Christian Bale would be in play for Globes for sure. And I think I actually think he could get in at SAG. I do think it's like that kind of performance that could get response to. They nominated, if you remember, Amy Adams, I think, for Hillbilly Elegy, Joyce.
Yes, they did. And we saw that coming.
So I think Christian Bale could get, again, it's a soft lineup for best actor. So there is an opening for him to get in.
Well, I wouldn't make the comp with Hillbilly Elegy for him. I would say it's more like him getting in for Ford versus Ferrari.
Sure.
Which
Yeah.
is a better movie, I would say. I think
Yes.
that also got an A+ cinema score, like The Woman King and Top Gun did.
It did.
And he just came up short at the Oscars. So
I think he was great, and he's great. I'd say this is more in. I think Ford versus Ferrari is a better movie, and I think he's better in Ford versus Ferrari, but it's in that same area code, the performance at least.
I mean, it's just like him, like, he has a glass eye. He's just doing a lot.
It's a lot of greatest hits because he had the
has
glass eye
a
in
lot of
Big Short.
voiceover acting.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was really fun, and Rami Malek was more. I had more fun watching Rami Malek than I have in a while. I thought he was solid.
Yeah, so like they actually make a good comedic duo, Anya and Rami.
Surprising.
Yeah,
but definitely do.
And then like I prefer them to Margot Robbie and John David Washington.
Yeah, I think that's true. They're also allowed to do more. I mean, Margot Robbie and John David Washington are more traditionally like romantic leads, let's say, and they're allowed to be more zany. Anya Taylor-Joy and Rami Malek.
Yeah, it just felt like Margot and John David. It was like like predictable beats. Like you knew kind of like what was going on with them and like how they would end up. Basically.
I do think the below the line stuff was good. Production design I thought was really cool. There's a lot of like cool sets and like mansions, and there's a lot of little like Margot Robbie's character is like an artist who makes art out of shrapnel, I guess, right? Or and it's like really cool the way they visualize that, and all of that felt like really like exceptional. And like I said, the cinematography is cool. Score I thought was really fun. So I think it could like be competitive there, and the Globe certainly will probably
well, the thing is
it.
I think this would also be a test to see how much like pull David still has, because he took a lengthy break because his last movie was Joy, which was 7 years ago, which also was not great.
Yeah, we did not mention Joy going through the movies. Not one of my favorites either.
No, I mean, J-Law still got an Oscar nomination out of it, but that was a very a messy behind the scenes film, like with the script and everything. Yeah, so he, and then Me Too happened, and people discovered things about David that were not a secret, but has been on his Wikipedia page for a decade.
Sure.
So I think like the public or like Twitter will not be kind to the film. And
I thought that too,
but I think like he still has like friends and supporters in the industry.
Certainly Christian Bale, obviously. I thought that too, but again, similar to like what we were talking about before, maybe bad faith on my part, but I was like, I assumed like with the Greatest Beer Run, another example of this, like I assumed everyone would just destroy Amsterdam because it's
well, but you're talking about like critics. I'm talking about like regular people.
Right. But I even think from people who've seen it so far, I feel like most people have been like, it's fine. Like none of the.
Yeah. But like, again, like it's not like a horrific movie.
No.
So like, I don't think like maybe this is just like maybe it's more that like in the early 2010s, like maybe those films were overpraised, and now it's just kind of like.
Well, I'm saying like, I guess I was surprised that there's even been like mixed response to Amsterdam, because I do think that people are embarrassed because they love those movies and now it's not cool to like those movies. I'm not embarrassed with it. I still love those movies. I don't care.
I mean, I never liked it.
So I'm like, I don't care. But I'm like, I think people are going to be like, oh, I didn't like that or whatever. And then they would be more primed to be like, I'm going to take all my angst out on Amsterdam. And then I haven't seen that so far. I guess obviously we'll see what happens when the reviews come out.
No, like I understand that
will
thinking.
Get killed.
And I think people were thinking that anyway with all the stuff with his niece, being more publicized too. But I think it's just like not, or maybe like the people who've social reviewed it so far, like it's just like we're not on that like David O. Russell high anymore of like the early 2010s, and it's just like this movie is what it is, and like I didn't think it was amazing, but I'm also not gonna needlessly take it down for no reason either. So I think it's more honest.
Yeah, I guess
Like,
I'm just surprised. I'm surprised people are being
movie
honest.
was like, it's okay.
I'm
So
surprised. I'm surprised. I don't believe people are honest. So I'm
I
surprised.
mean, listen, the actual reviews have not come out.
Right. We'll see what the reviews are like. It's true. So that's Amsterdam. Comes out October 7th. I would say for Taylor Swift fans and just the internet in general, there will be a meme of all memes, I feel like, for her.
Yeah, so if you're gonna see this movie for Taylor Swift, make sure you're seated because you need to be there for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. And I think it'll be, I do think that'll be a meme when it comes out. It's great stuff.
I enjoyed her in it.
She's really good in it. I mean, they're all like, actually most performances are pretty solid, I thought. And like a lot of people.
Yeah, again, like I think the actors in this film always come through with, good, performances, if not amazing performances.
Bale has a couple of line readings that really made me LOL. I thought he was funny. He does bring a couple of good jokes. Joyce, what else? We mentioned the Golden Globes. They're back.
They are January 10th, Tuesday. 1-year deal with NBC. So we'll see what happens in 2024.
I guess we'll see also how much. So obviously in the past, the Globes were major like sign marker and like a big signifier of award season success. And I wonder, they obviously handed them out last year. I don't know if you remember, laughter is the best medicine. Music is the best medicine.
It's music.
I'll get it right one of these times. So they handed them out last year, so it's not like they didn't exist, but they were done through press release and tweets that people dunked on. Now it'll be a show. I'll be curious to see how much this affects the race, I guess, or if people think of it affecting the race or whatever.
I mean, like it's award season is a lot more fun with the Globes around.
Sure.
And last year I get why, all that happened. And yeah, they've had their issues and it was like an open secret, like nothing in that expose in the LA Times was surprising. So like they're trying to reform, and they've added I think 103 new voting members, or like they're not even members, but like they have the privilege of voting.
I think that's it.
Something like that. So like they've basically overhauled their membership and like so we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see because so you have Brendan Fraser obviously has a history with the Globes, not in the most positive light, and Tom Cruise gave his Globe back. 2 Globes.
So like they'll just tie for drama actor and then they'll give Tom Cruise 4 Golden Globes because they'll return the 3 that he gave back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how that plays out. But I guess we'll see. I will say like for movies like, so I guess a good thing about, or a thing about the Globes that would matter insofar as like visibility for award season, a movie like Amsterdam would have more likely a chance to get nominations there and be more visible there than it would with like critics groups and like maybe the Critics' Choice Awards even. And getting out there maybe is going to help it through the season, right? That kind of thing. Like if you're elevated enough to be, if you're shown on TV winning something or nominated for something, people are going to maybe pay more attention to you, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah. And again, we've talked about this, numerous times that a lot of the general public knows what the Golden Globes are. Like they don't know what SAG Awards are. Like I've told you a bunch of times, my friends don't know what the SAG Awards are, but they know what the Golden Globes are.
The SAG Awards currently don't have a TV home, I believe.
Yeah, so
Globes do.
Yeah, for 1 year right now.
1 year, but still, SAG doesn't have anything right now. They're not going to be televised at this point. So, I'm sure they will, but
they'll do it on Instagram Live. They'll announce the nominations on Instagram Live.
They should do it on YouTube, and that's where all the cool kids are.
Yeah, so I think, and I think, like even last year, even with them canceled, like a lot of the celebrities still acknowledge their wins. Like, Michaela J. Rodriguez gave her whole acceptance speech.
It was really great. That was like a great moment. Actually, last year's winners were so good, you almost wish they would have had a show.
The winners last year.
Yeah, you almost wish they would have had a show to see those people.
There was a lot more interesting winners across film and TV from them.
Yes, so it's not necessarily bad that they're back. I'm definitely not one of those who is like, oh, I can't believe the Globes are back. Yeah. No, I'm just I just am curious to see what it means anymore at this point. Because it's like you said, like I think regular people think of the Globes a lot because they know the Globes. And I think it's funny to me, a lot of the shows have really gone, like the Emmys was just like, felt like a Globes-ish production. So it's like, it is influencing these.
But just not as drunk.
Not as drunk. Mm-hmm. So that's the Globes, Joyce. Last two things I had written down here. Don't Worry, Darling comes out this week.
Which we saw a month ago.
Feels like, I gotta say, I was like, oh, it's tracking to make like decent amount of money. I feel like it kind of should have come out when it was cresting with like the Venice stuff. Based on interest, I think it would have got more people to see it.
Well, I mean, they weren't going to move it up like that.
No, I know, but I'm like, it almost is like they had all their buzz, good or bad, like 3 weeks ago. Now it's coming
But
out.
I mean, I think, people will still see it, maybe because of that. I think, like the Harry stands will see it. So it could be like very front loaded.
And I guess I would also say, like, similar to Amsterdam, I do think there are a lot of like good craft elements, and I wonder if those will be remembered.
Film. Yeah.
So I wonder how that will play out. And once the dust settles from all the discourse about Don't Worry, Darling, will like the craft stuff be like recognized at the end of the year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
production
know
design.
Yeah,
really
like great production design, like the houses, the costumes are
really
gorgeous too. Like the other stuff, probably not.
Yeah, no, we don't need to go over it or anything, but I just thought that. And then the last thing was thinking of hope dicting people I want to see nominated, and how if you just see somebody win something, that maybe they're a contender. I've moved Jeremy Strong back into supporting actor for Armageddon Time, and I took out Brad Pitt for Babylon, which is maybe silly. Here's my thing on Armageddon Time and Jeremy Strong, Joyce. I think he's going to win a major critics group award. Either New York Film Critics seemingly would make sense, or maybe LA, or even like NBR or something. And if that happens, I think he's automatically going to be thought of as like a major contender. Plus, I think because of his TV work, he can get in at SAG.
Sure.
So I have Jeremy Strong in now again.
I mean, you could just say you just want to predict it.
Well, I do just want to predict it, but I do think, I guess I would say, like, if that kind of stuff happens, then he's on. I mean, he would be a contender in my mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's like no one's really taking.
I mean, look, I haven't
now.
seen it, and I'm just like, I have no opinion on the film.
No, I know you haven't seen it, but I guess that's my thinking.
It's just like, you're so predictable as usual. I mean, I would love to see it happen for him. He could pursue his EGOT.
Yes, EGOT coming.
And again, that category is wide open.
Yeah. I was thinking with Brad Pitt, we saw the Babylon trailer we talked about a little last week, and I was like, he looks awesome in it. It looks like a lot of fun, but I'm just like, similar to what I was saying earlier about like Olivia Colman, I wonder if there'll be enough passion for that particular performance to get him in, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, he's not like an automatic, like, to me because of that, even though he's like Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I still have him in, and I have Margot in still for that movie. I mean, at this point, like, who knows what will happen to it? Like, it could bomb. It could, like we've said, like, it'll probably be the new villain, like, definitely be the new villain. Or it could be, the late breaker that people just want to have as a rival to Fabelmans, because maybe by that December, people are kind of tiring of Fabelmans as the front runner. So, and if like, this is up to snuff, it's also like 3 hours long. So if they get through that, like, and the crafts look good too. So I don't know. So like I still have just the two of them in acting.
Sure. I guess the one thing, and we start with Fabelmans, Joyce, we could wrap with Fabelmans. I guess I was like thinking too, how do they now, it's clearly the front runner, which at this point is probably not something you're really excited about, right? Because you don't want to like flop early days. Being the front runner means you have like someone like Mike White said at the Emmys, like, you don't want to, like, you're kind of like, now people are paying attention to
their threat level is high, but I would say it was already high.
Sure.
Because people have been predicting it to win for 9 months now.
Like we were earlier this year. I guess I would say, how do you keep the momentum without like oversaturating the zone? I guess we'll see.
So I think like I said last week, I think it's good that the praise for it was not overly effusive, because I think that is off-putting to people when you just kind of love something too much, or you're like, it could get like really annoying to people. Like, it's, so I think it was like the reviews were great enough for it,
Yes.
It was just kind of like confirmations like, oh yeah, of course it's good, and like it's still the front runner, and like it also helps it that everything else just, had a middling reception, if not
Yes.
terrible reception,
Sure.
some films. So and that they don't have any control over that, however films are received or turn out. So I think it's good that the reaction to it wasn't really excessive, and it won something that a lot of people expected it to win. So, and I guess like I think they'll just have to like modulate like how hard they want to go with it, and it'll be interesting to see what the box office is too.
Yeah, it comes out, I think, limited
In
release
November.
November 11th and then Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it could do well. Like, I mean, it's going to come out like the third week of its wide release, I guess, the second or third week of Black Panther.
yeah, like it's not gonna like dethrone Black Panther.
No, certainly not. But I mean, like, it could be like a lot of people are at the movies and maybe they're like, oh, we already saw Black Panther. Let's go see. We don't need to see it a third time. Let's see Fabelmans. That kind of thing.
I think the other thing about it too is that it would probably play well on a preferential ballot, because like right now it doesn't seem like anyone hates the movie.
Exactly.
So if it's not your number one, it might get a lot of 2s and 3s. And
Right.
because I think like after round one of like balloting for the winner at the Oscars, like Everything Everywhere All at Once probably will have more number ones than
Yes.
Fabelmans. But it's like impossible to win from round one, with like 10 movies. But I think as it goes on, I think it like Fabelmans could accrue more 2s and 3s, because I think like for Everything Everywhere, like older Academy members would probably rank that lower. Like
that would be my impression
like,
too. But I
that's
guess
just what it feels like that
yeah.
the movie won't have as broad appeal as Fabelmans
Right.
would. So
right now I have
and then like Top Gun Maverick is still there, that has cross-generational appeal. But
so I have Top Gun Maverick 2. I have Fabelmans 1, Top Gun Maverick 2, and Everything Everywhere 3 on my picks. So
I was thinking also when I was like looking at director, and like you have Joseph Kosinski in there, and I was like, but the auteur of that movie is really Tom Cruise.
he is, and again, we're not taking it seriously at the moment, but like best actor is soft.
He could, so, oh my god, so like with the Globes being back and how much, and like they're more categories because the genre split, and how much they love stars, we can have real movie stars at the Globes, like Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, like George Clooney and Julia Roberts from our favorite movie Ticket to Paradise.
Can't wait. I'm so psyched, Joyce. Think about this. Tom Cruise easily could get a Golden Globe nomination. I don't think a Critics' Choice nomination is out of the question.
They'll have like 8 slots.
Sure. So he could get in like the Ben Affleck memorial spot for Way Back. SAG?
I can see him getting at SAG.
So then he's got 3 precursors right there, and then it's gonna be like
he won't get Tom Cruise.
Get him in. I might put him in tonight.
I mean so did you change anything in Best Actor?
I still have Brendan Gleeson as a lead actor, because I don't think they've decided yet if he's supporting or lead, and so I think that.
Well, I mean, like for the Oscars, it wouldn't matter because they
right. I have him in for lead, host of SNL. Brendan Gleeson
supporting. And I mean, I still have Hugh Jackman hanging on by a thread in my 5th.
So I would have Hugh Jackman and Tom Cruise in like 6th, and we didn't talk about The Inspection last week, but I think Jeremy Pope, a lot of people were excited about as well.
I could see him doing well with like critics groups,
and we'll see how that response to that is at New York Film Festival.
Yeah, I don't know if that would be like enough.
I
don't know. It's just like it looks kind of dire after like the top 3. So it's not a bad thing per se, because it's more exciting to try to figure out like who's going to fill up these slots.
He really could.
It's just like it's different from Best Actress, where we are also trying to figure out who will fill out the other slots, but it feels like you just have a lot more options in Best Actress than you do in Best Actor.
I know it's nuts, and I really do think he'll have like 3 significant precursors. Cruise.
Where is he in the odds right now?
Let me see.
Because I agree that most people are not taking him seriously.
So right now it's Fraser, Butler, Colin Farrell, Hugh Jackman, Bill Nye are the top 5. Then Brendan Gleeson is 6. Daniel Jimenez Cacho is 7. Kelvin Harrison for Chevalier is 8th. Not even sure the movie's coming out this year, and they have not said, I don't believe.
I feel like I keep seeing the title, but I don't remember seeing the date.
It's a Searchlight movie, so they do have like a couple of things in October, or November, so it could come out later in the year, I guess. Diego Calva for Babylon, Song Kang-ho for Broker, Adam Sandler for Hustle, Adam Driver for White Noise, Jeremy Pope for Inspection, and then Tom Cruise all the way down there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th. But he could really have 3 precursors, like very easily.
I think when I think a lot of people did these in July.
Yeah.
And have not updated. So I think if they do it now, he would be slightly higher.
He would, but I'm just like, let's see if any experts are predicting him. Hang on, we'll look here.
It's shocking that you're not. So
I might have to. Here, let's see. Scrolling, scintillating stuff as usual. Among the experts, he has one person predicting him. 14th place, right ahead of Brendan Gleeson, me, 15th place. So
look, I think it would be wrong to say he can't happen at this point.
It's amazing. This is what happens if you listen to the whole thing here, because we've got Tom Cruise getting a Best Actor nomination for Top Gun.
Which is, it's just like hilarious to think about, because in the spring, no one would have ever said like Top Gun Maverick is getting into Best Picture.
Last week, I wouldn't have said he got in for Best Actor. Now I'm like, maybe.
We did talk about it last week.
We did, but not like, I did not take it as seriously as I am right this second. Joyce, I'm going to think about putting Tom Cruise in. Maybe by this time next week, I'll have him in. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.